I'm America first. I live in America. This is my number one priority. I'm raising my kids here. I'm from Iran, I'm Armenian, and I'm Assyrian. But if you tell me what country matters the most, America matters the most. And I've had Jordan Peterson on. I've had him on 4 or 5 times, many times. Every time you're with Jordan Peterson, you kind of sit there. He's the easiest guy to interview. He's 4 questions in 2 hours.
Yep.
That's Jordan. You ask, let her rip, right? He's like that. Sailors, like, there's a handful of people that are like that, right? Some people are like 60-second answers, 20-second answers, 40-second answers. He just goes. When all of a sudden you started hearing about, hey, Christ is king, Ben Shapiro in the small setting said what he said about, what she said is not a travesty, but disgrace or something.
Did Shapiro really call Candace Owens' Christ is king comment a disgrace? Of course he did. But what's funny is how Ben Shapiro has mastered the art of double speak. All nice in public, all knives behind closed doors. The real problem here isn't just that Ben Shapiro thinks Candace's comments went too far. It's that he operates like he's untouchable. Patrick Bet-David knows this. You don't just go around criticizing Shapiro and the people he capes for unless you want your career to take a nosedive. Oh, sure, Patrick Bet-David tries to keep it real, but we can all see what's going on. You can criticize the U.S., Ukraine, or anything else on Patrick Bet-David's radar, but when it comes to the special folks Ben Shapiro protects, now that's a line you don't cross. And even Candace Owens, with all her undeniable talent, isn't immune to it. Because apparently, even having the most successful show on the Daily Wire isn't enough to stop Shapiro from quietly tossing you under the bus when it suits him.
He used some words like that about Candace in a smaller setting. Now, did he know it's being recorded? I don't know, but you're Ben Shapiro. Yeah, just anybody. At any time you're speaking, you have to know someone's recording you, right? Sometimes we forget, everybody does, but you just have to know you're being recorded. We can talk about anything, but you can't question that as one of your talent. Very obvious. You can't touch the Jewish community, you can't talk about it. And that cost the person the job. That's when I made the comments when I said the Daily Jewish Wire or the Daily Israeli Wire. I don't know if that's what you're asking about. I publicly said that multiple times. I'm not, apologizing or changing my position. That's my position, what I said. That's where we know what Ben's ultimate is, okay? To me, I'm America first. I live in America. This is my number one priority. I'm raising my kids here. I'm from Iran, I'm Armenian, and I'm Assyrian. But if you tell me what country matters the most, America matters the most.
Listen, my parents are Jamaican. I was born here, but guess what? I'm America first too, just like Patrick says. But here's where it gets tricky. When people like Ben Shapiro get involved, it's never just about America. It's about protecting those other loyalties. Let me know what you think. Drop a comment or join the discussion on Discord.
If you asked him.
We did.
And what did he tell you?
Well, his argument is there's a couple of pieces to it. Number one, he says that Israel is not something he used to talk about a lot until it happened. And I think he sees Israel as an outpost of Western civilization in the Middle East, which I think is a reasonable point. And in terms of the Candace stuff, we didn't talk about that specifically with him. We talked about it with Andrew Clavin. But what Andrew said is that, and what I think is fair to say is this: if you one of the things we talked about with him is if you have a company in which there's an ideological viewpoint, which they have, right? They're a conservative media organization. So, if Matt Walsh was to come out as pro-trans, they would fire Matt Walsh, is the point, right?
You're comparing Candace Owens saying Christ is king?
He is comparing, not me. But also, the words themselves
No, you said.
I said that's what he said.
He said trans? They used the word specific
we
trans?
talked about this, I think.
But are you, no, this is very important.
Yeah.
It's very technical what you're saying right now.
Yeah.
So did he use the analogy?
No, I brought that up.
That's what I'm saying, if you're saying. So I'm going to isolate that with you,
okay,
because that's you. Okay. Make your point.
So if the argument is they have a company ideology, they're a conservative organization.
Sure.
That's what Clayton was talking about. So if one of their presenters, one of their hosts came out and said, I'm pro-trans or I'm pro-abortion or whatever, that person wouldn't continue to work. So I don't remember the exact wording that Andrew used. We have an episode coming out about that before this one, so people can go and watch what he said. But it was something along the lines of, I'm not saying she's deeply anti-Semitic in her heart, but some of the things that she was saying either encourage people to be that way or something along those lines, right? So in other words, I think, from the Daily Wire's perspective, is this is a misalignment with the core values of their organization, right? In the same way that being pro-trans or pro-abortion might be. That's their argument.
That's your opinion, or you're not, because you said
That
I
is
think.
my recollection of the
Okay,
conversation we
got it.
had with Andrew.
Because when I say I think, that's kind of my opinion. So then I can rebuttal to
Yeah.
your opinion on what you're saying instead of his. But yeah, I mean, listen, to be fair to Ben came out and said, we're a publisher. We're not a platform.
Right.
He's 100% right.
Yeah.
Of course you're a publisher. He said, we don't have to keep people here if we don't want to. Totally get it. But that position isn't necessarily an anti-conservative position. One would never say Candace is not conservative.
Yeah.
Candace is a conservative.
Yeah.
One would never say Candace is anti-freedom of speech, low taxes, small government. Candace is all conservative. No, and I believe right now, the last 4 years, it's been a kind of little bit of a weird climate.
Patrick, may I interrupt? I just thought of something else that may be helpful here as well, right? I think part of it is also there are people at the Daily Wire like Matt Walsh, who we just mentioned, who is anti the United States giving support to anybody, including Israel, including Ukraine, including everybody, who has no problem remaining at the Daily Wire. So I think the issue is the perception of anti-Semitism.
Yeah, sure. No,
Right?
That's a fair point.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, I'm glad you did. So that's a fair point you're making with the position he's in. I think he does a great job, by the way. I think he's got his own unique way of communicating.
Here's what's wild about this whole thing. Candace Owens is a massive force in conservative media. She brings in views, commands attention, and has her own loyal fan base. But the fact that even someone like her is getting pushback when she steps over Ben Shapiro's invisible line, that tells you everything. Patrick Bet David hit the nail on the head. There are boundaries at the Daily Wire, and they're not drawn based on talent, success, or even popularity. No, they're drawn around whatever agenda Shapiro and the team are pushing. So here's the real question. If Candace Owens can get slapped down, what does that say about the true limits of free speech on that platform? And who really benefits from these unspoken rules? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and be sure to click the next video below where we dive even deeper into how Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire handle dissenting voices.